We got multiple big news items from the UFC today, and we need to talk about them and their implications on the immediate future. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is MMA 365, the greatest UFC YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe, especially because Yuri Prochazka has ran into another demon in the forest, and he's in a lot of trouble, but I've tried getting that through to him, but he's not listening to me. In order to make sure Yuri Prochazka returns from the forest safely, you need to hit that subscribe button. Thank you. So first of all, we had news about the fight card in Mexico, that being Asu Almabayev pulling out against Brandon Moreno. That was supposed to be the main event, and just now, within the past hour, the UFC has announced that Loner Kavanaugh will be stepping in on short notice. This card will be occurring at the end of the month, and I like this move a lot for Loner Kavanaugh. This is essentially a high reward, low risk proposition for Loner Kavanaugh, because even if he does lose this fight, then it kind of just shows that we accelerated his timeline too much, and he'll kind of just go back where he already was, which is a low-ranked flyweight. He just earned a spot in the rankings at number 15, and yeah, I mean, there's no shame in losing to a top 5 flyweight, and if he does win, a la Joshua Van a month ago or two, then all of a sudden we have a new young contender on our hands. So I like this for Loner Kavanaugh, and he already was in camp. He was scheduled to fight Bruno Silva. Getting him as a headliner in Mexico is definitely a very big step up, but if he can rise to the occasion, then we have a new star on our hands. Next item I want to discuss, that being we got a couple updates to the rankings I want to talk about. Most notably in the welterweight division, the UFC removed Shavkat Rakhmonov completely from the rankings. I believe he was number 2, and you can see here pretty much everyone moved a spot up, and Michael Venom Page is now ranked number 15 in the welterweight division. He's scheduled to fight in London in March, so you can technically add one more ranked fighter to that card. But looking at these rankings, there's one name who ought to stick out like a sore thumb, that being Colby Covington. Colby Covington hasn't fought in about 14 months at this point, and he hasn't won a fight, period, in 4 years. Someone has graduated college, and in their entire university career, Colby Covington did not win a single UFC fight, and yet he's still in the rankings. I believe it was the Nelk boys that had Dana White on a podcast, and they straight up asked him, why is Colby Covington in the rankings? He hasn't fought in a very long time, and he hasn't won an even longer time. And Dana White just said, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. And yet still, here he is, sticking out like a sore thumb. Just rank like some other contender, someone who actually fights, a number 15. So like Islam Dulatov. I wouldn't be very mad if Islam Dulatov snuck in at number 15 and Colby Covington was just eviscerated, vanished, erased. I wouldn't be. As for Shavkat Rakhmonov, I hope that he does return to the UFC again, but removing him from the rankings certainly isn't promising. Though the UFC did a similar thing with Kai Kara France. He's currently on hiatus right now, and he's vacant in the flyweight rankings. It's as if he doesn't exist right now. So hopefully that's the case with Shavkat, and this doesn't mean that he's just cooked. The lightweight rankings got updated after Benoit Saint-Denis, Paddy Pimblett, Dan Hooker, Mauricio Hufi, and Rafael Fiziev all had fights last weekend, and Benoit Saint-Denis with a big leap up to number 5 contender. He called out the winner of Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira, and at this point, that seems not unlikely. It definitely would be a big step up for him, but Benoit Saint-Denis is now a top, technically 6 lightweight. Who would have thought? And then Paddy Pimblett moved down a spot. Dan Hooker moved down 2 spots. Mauricio Hufi got a big leap all the way up to the top 10. Fiziev fell down to number 11. He's now on a pretty significant losing streak. I'm curious to see what's next for both Hufi and Fiziev, especially. Hufi because he still hasn't showed that he can really fight against someone with a strong grappling game, and Fiziev because he's on a losing streak right now, and I feel like he's kind of at a crossroads at this point in his UFC career where he might have peaked in this division. If I were him, I would consider trying to cut 10 extra pounds and make featherweight. I'm not sure if that's feasible for him, but if I were him, I would be exploring my options because I would be afraid of the UFC handing Fiziev a matchup against someone like Manuel Torres or Fraziam or another rising lightweight contender. I wouldn't want to be a stepping stone if I were him, especially when he was fighting Justin Gaethje just 2 fights ago. And lastly, speaking of Paddy the Baddy, Patrick the Batrick, he went public for the first time since his loss, and this is what he had to say. They said that he probably scratched a cornea or something like that, that being from the 2 separate eye pokes, one called and one not called. So he might be sustaining an injury because of that. It certainly doesn't seem to the degree of Tom Aspinall. The fact that Paddy spoke of it fairly nonchalantly, I'd say is a good sign that it's not an overly serious injury, but it was unfortunate to see that during the fight. And Paddy also said that he plans on returning in mid-2026. He said, "I'll be back in the gym tomorrow. I'll be back training. And people think I'm going to have to take the rest of the year off, but I'm not. I'll be fighting in the summer." And, well, as for Paddy, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, but I wouldn't blame him for taking a break. I mean, he sustained a lot of damage in that fight, and that's something that I think fighters generally need, is if they were in a war, they should be taking longer breaks. That's okay. If you've ever had a concussion before, you would know that arguably the worst thing you could possibly do is get concussed again. And, well, I would say Paddy sustained at least 1 concussion in that fight. So, yeah, I mean, he has a history of, we'll say, bulking up in the off season, but according to him, he'll be back in the summer. Could potentially be setting up for a White House card arc, that card being in mid-June. I hope that we don't see pictures of Paddy Pimblett looking like a heavyweight within the next few weeks. I wouldn't rule it out because that's what he's done in the past, but I do feel like in order for him to really level up to a potential championship status, then he probably does need to take his physical training more seriously. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction for him. That concludes this video for now. Be sure to hit that subscribe button because Yuri Prohaska is battling demons in the forest and we need to help him out. So make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.